Hey guys, and welcome to a new episode of Coffee Break Hacks, the episodes where you learn new tips, tricks, and techniques in ethical hacking in the same time that it takes you to take a coffee break. So get your coffee ready and let's get started together. My name is Tariq, and in this episode we're going to be learning how to use Docker commit to commit any changes you do on a Docker container to save it as a new image. And when that new image is saved, how you can push it to the Docker Hub repository so that anybody can download and run that image and create new containers from that image that you changed and saved. So let's get started. Now, before we dive in, please keep in mind that this video is a continuation of two previous videos. In the first one, we spoke about what Docker is. We created a mini hacking lab using a Kali container and a Metasploitable container. And in the second video, we talked about what Docker files are and we built one from scratch. Based on that, we created an image. We ran a Docker off that image that was customized to our liking. And then I told you that once we spin up that container and when we modify it, how we're going to commit it to a new image. And this is what we'll be talking about in this video. So I'm going to be running a few commands that if you find yourself unfamiliar with, please go back and review the first video. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to run a Debian container with the interactive terminal. And by now you've seen me a few times using the /bin/bash after the name of the image. You can actually shortcut this by just typing bash. And when we run the command, a new container is spun up and we have access to the terminal of a new Debian container. Now let's assume this is the container that I want to do modifications on. Maybe I want to create a basic web page on it. Maybe I want to do some basic configuration changes. Whatever it is, I'm going to simulate this by creating a new text file that has a small comment in it, my new Debian. And the assumption is that I want this file to be saved with that container and to be transferred to anybody that uses it. So after I create this file, I'm going to exit this container and I'm going to use the docker ps-a command to see what containers I have on my system. So this is our container that we just created. I'm going to copy the container ID because I'm going to need that later on. And now that I have modified this container, the question is, how am I going to save this as a new image? The command is pretty simple. All we have to do is use the docker commit command. I'll provide the ID of the container and then I need to give the new container a name. So in this case, I'm just going to call it new_deb for new Debian. So now if I run the docker images command, you'll see that I have another container called new_deb and it has a different image ID. So now that my new image is ready, I want to distribute it. I want to give it to the rest of my team. Am I just going to put it on an external hard drive or USB stick and pass it around? Or am I going to put it on a shared folder for them to download? Or am I going to put it on a repository somewhere? So usually what happens is that we put it on a repository, either one that is local to us, so that is hosted by us internally on our network, or we can put it on the cloud on a repository like Docker Hub, for example. In this case, I am going to be using Docker Hub. However, because it's a public repository, I need to make sure that my image has a unique name. If I'm using a common name like Debian or a new Debian or something that is quite common, there's a very good chance that the name is going to conflict with other images. And for this reason, Docker Hub does not allow me to upload any images unless it knows it has a unique name. And the way it knows that it has a unique name is when we use the name of our repository as part of the image name. So in my case, for example, I went to Docker Hub before I did this video and I created an account on Docker Hub under the name of Hackers Academy. And I'm going to be using this as part of the new image name. So to do that, I'm going to use docker tag and the name of my current image, which is new_deb. By the way, here I'm using the autocomplete on Linux and it autocompletes all the way to latest. Latest, if you've noticed, is the tag from this column over here. And this is an indication of what version I'm using. So am I using, for example, Debian 7 or Debian 8? If I do not specify the version, usually it will be the latest, so the latest Debian. In my case, I did not specify, and this is why you see new_deb : latest. Now, what is the new name that I want to assign to this image? It's going to be Hackers Academy, which is the name of my repository, and /new_deb. So I'm just using the same image name. And now if I run the docker images command, you notice that I have two new deb images, the first one which is the new_deb and the second one which is the Hackers Academy new deb, but both have the same image ID. So they're exactly the same but with different names. Now that I have an image with the proper name using the Hackers Academy repository name, I can go ahead and upload it. To do that, I need to log in to my Docker Hub account. So I'll do docker login And normally you will be asked to provide your username and password, but because I've logged in previously, I'm not going to have to do that. Now that I've logged in successfully, all I have to do is upload the image. And with Docker, the upload command is docker push. So I do docker push and the full name of my image. That will take a few minutes to upload, and now this image is on my Hackers Academy repository. To find this image, like we've seen in the first video, you can either use the docker search command or you can go to the web interface. Now, you might notice that the image will not appear straight away. It will take a few minutes for the image to appear, so please be patient. But once it's there, you can use the docker search command to verify that the image is actually on your repository. So for example, here I'm doing docker search Hackers Academy to search for the Hackers Academy repository, and you can see that I already have an image, the vulnerable webmin image, on our Hackers Academy repository. This is the same image that we created in the last video when we created a Docker file from scratch, and based on that Docker file, we were able to create an image. So now this image is available for anybody publicly to download, play around with, practice some Metasploit skills on, and exploit that image. So with this video, we covered how you can spin up a container, do your modifications and changes on that container, and then how you can save that container into a new image. And once that new image is saved, how then can you distribute that image using Docker Hub by sending or uploading that image to Docker Hub using the docker push command. And with that, we reach the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you soon in future videos. Until then, happy ethical hacking.